So, like, what is a typical day for you? Like, when you're trying to figure out, like, what you're going to make a video of next, do you get together with your friends and brainstorm? Do you have, like, an idea that you come up with while you're driving your car or something? Like,
so that's where it gets interesting. So the difference between a video on YouTube, and this is where I can go infinitely in depth, the difference between a video with 1 million views or 10 million views usually isn't that like the 10 million view video, or actually a better example would be 1 million views and 30 million views. The video with 30 million views usually didn't put in 30 times the effort. Like they might have put in 2 or 3 times the effort and just had a way better idea. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so once you kind of understand that, which I understood, I kind of started to understand that like when I was 19, you realize that like the idea is so freaking important. Like you could, theoretically, most YouTubers watching this, you could pull triple the views with half the work if you just had better ideas. Like no joke, it's that extreme. And so once you realize how important an idea is, you just obsess over, well, how do I get more ideas? How do I get better ideas? So I used to just spend an hour every day brainstorming ideas. I don't anymore, but like probably like 4 years that just every day I just spend an hour and I would just do something different. One day I'd use a random word generator, like, I don't know, just say a random word.
Dog.
I adopted 100 dogs.
Right.
I gave my friend 50 dogs, or I gave a dog $1 million for dog treats, whatever. So I take in random words. I see what pops in my head. I write those down, and then I take in another random word. And like I've studied it very intensely. I've tried like lucid dreaming to see if I could trick myself to come up with ideas while I'm sleeping and stuff like that. Wow. I work really well when I intake inspiration and I see what pops in my head. That's like the most effective way for me to come up with ideas. So it's like I just try different ways of intaking inspiration, whether it be like traveling, random words, flipping through a dictionary, things like that. And that's always, for me, been the way to like consistently come up with good ideas.
Wow. So you actively seek these ideas out and you try to come up with different ways to just have them manifest.
Yeah, exactly.
And then once you do, then you sit down with the crew and you go, okay, how do we make this? And then how does that work?
It's a long but then we can't start working on the video until we know what it is. So
right.
Then, I've a guy named Tyler who I've known for years. I went to high school with. He's just phenomenal. And so, then we have to write the video and actually figure it out. Like, so if I want to bury myself alive for 50 hours, like, what does that look like? What are we doing in there? Because until you know everything you're doing, you can't start working on it. And then, you can come up with it. And then we have, our people who basically make it happen. But then the problem is it's like, oh, well, you wrote you wanted a giant ball in a coffin. But, like, they're like, oh, well, you can't get a giant ball. And so then it's, like, just months of back and forth, like, and this is where most people fall apart and why like this wouldn't work in traditional media, because it's like you don't write a script and then just hand it to them, especially because it's non-scripted. Like so you can't just say like, here's what we need, and then they just do it and then it magically happens, because like once they start working on it, there's like all these things like, oh well, this isn't possible, this isn't possible. So it's like a back and forth for months, and then it's like usually it's like, well, since this didn't work, that means this doesn't work, and the hypothetical thing like you can't light a firework in the coffin or whatever, or like you can't light a fire. If like one of the bits was me to cook food, well, because of the ventilation, you can't light a fire in there. And so then it's like you got to change it. So it's like a lot of back and forth like that over the course of months, and then you get a final product, which is why you need intelligent people working on it so they can like do that, and they can occasionally make decisions on their own without having to push it all up to me, because then I'd want to kill myself.